Hi, Sharan. Hi, everyone. It's an exciting time to be in the crypto space, in the blockchain space, and thanks to Next Big Brand for inviting us to me for hosting this crypto talk in their larger crypto talk series. Today, I have a very close friend of mine who I know for about close to 4 years now, right? But stepping back before introduction, let me try to tell you what or which organization do I represent. So I represent or lead initiatives for Blockchain India, which is the largest talent network or community focused around the blockchain space in India. We organize knowledge sharing sessions and sort of how to or sort of generally breaking down things to the layman in terms of what is happening in this space, how can they be involved, what is the right opportunity and things like those. And we've been doing this for about 4 years now, and the space has exploded, but so has Blockchain India as a network. We have about 50,000 people right now, and on the side I also run Blockchain Studios, which is a blockchain venture production studio where we work with startup founders who trying to make good on the dream of their crypto startup, right? So we work with founders end to end, from the stage wherein they're strategizing onto their business product, go to market, or even to the point that they're sort of catering to customers, right? So end to end kind of studio for them to launch and make it big in the crypto space, right? So that's me. Happy to have you all as a part of our network, right? And as sort of big, the next big brand makes it bigger every time, and so it had to be the go-to man for Bitcoin in India, or I would say he's fondly sort of touted as the Bitcoin Wale in India, right? So Sharan, welcome. So Sharan represents this organization called CoinSwitch Kuber. It's one of the most sophisticated crypto exchanges. This is where you go and invest in cryptocurrencies. This is where you get that opportunity to make good on the high returns that cryptocurrencies or crypto assets, as more of us are relating to it with every passing day, right? So welcome, Sharan. How's it going?
Thank you, Akshay. It's so good to see you after our last meet at Delhi. Pretty excited. I hope the lockdowns get lifted soon, and then we could catch up again. And also, thank you for that brilliant introduction. I will try to remember that for a while.
Absolutely, Sharon. So, I think before, starting on to any of the stuff, tell me what the F is happening in the crypto space.
यार अक्षय कहाँ से शुरू करूँ? Right? There are multiple things happening right now. Right from a lot of new people entering into the space, right? That's exciting and sometimes scary, right? You're seeing crypto market have wild mood swings, right? Quite pushed by a lot of influencers, quite pushed by what certain pockets of the economy thinks about the coins, right? On the other hand, you have a lot of regulatory concerns coming up, right? Which I think there is a silver lining to that for sure. When we can discuss that later. Uh, so I can completely understand people trying to make sense of it and coming up and asking every time कि यार चल क्या रहा है मतलब where do we go? And I completely feel them. And I think over this talk, we can go deeper into aspects of this and talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's quite surprising. Just about 3 months ago, we heard you could buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, and suddenly, this month we're sort of awakening to this news that nah, probably not so soon, right? So I mean, I see that volatility even being in decision makers when it comes to the Musks of the world as well.
Right.
So yeah, I think we do associate the space with volatility. We do associate the space with these beer markets wherein people are keenly building and they don't want to talk about a lot, they don't want to announce a lot, and then there is this hyper phase of excitement wherein everybody is announcing what they did in the last 3 years, and it seems
Right.
like whoa, everything is arrived suddenly,
Yeah.
है ना? So I mean, अभी हम उस phase में हम लोग थोड़े वो हो गए हैं, adjust हो गए हैं, but I think our audience will also get accustomed to that. But yeah, you've had a really fantastic journey. I think probably you represented the group that brought the idea of cryptocurrencies to India, right? 2016-17 में किसको पता था यार? And it was so good to see, you'd come to India, you had, you were addressing so many enthusiasts, and I think that sort of has translated into about 100 or 1,000 times the size today. But
Right.
I would like your story to come from you. Tell us, where are you coming from? How did you get into this space? What's your vision about the future of cryptocurrencies?
Right. So unlike what most people think that अरे शरण ने तो देख के रखा था कि that's not true. I was a happy-go-lucky kid, right? I got into a crypto company, Uno Coin, back in 2014, actually, way before
Whoa.
even 16, right? Primarily because of my interest of wanting to work with small scale companies, right? Uno Coin was a very small team, maybe a team of 6 people back then, right? I, to be very honest, did not know what crypto was at that point in time, right? So when I got started, right, I started reading more about cryptocurrency, started understanding more about it, right? And तभी इतना कुछ चमक नहीं रहा था because because उस वक्त भी like it wasn't really broken down into the ways today. There are a lot of influencers who play part in explaining what cryptocurrencies are, the futuristic. ना उस वक्त किसी के पास वो time नहीं था, right? People were like extremely busy in building stuffs. आप किसी से बात कर रहे हो तो like I was what 22-year-old and I when people would ask me like to understand Bitcoin and back then there was also Ethereum, right? So to understand Bitcoin, you need to understand what money is, and I'm like मैंने तो ये कभी अपने आप से पूछा भी नहीं है, right? So that journey from understanding what is money, right, to understanding the role it plays, to understanding what Bitcoin is trying to do, and to an extent has been successful, has been quite a journey. Uh, I've learned and grown a lot. To be very honest, I'm very thankful for the industry, right? And I would say so. I started 2014 with Uno Coin, no Ethereum. People weren't talking about. So one thing that I distinctly remember about the journey is that nobody was talking about price back then, right? People were more talking about कि यार blockchain क्या है, decentralization क्या है, what is uncensorable, right? Why is it important to have uncensorable money, right? And things like that. And eventually, then by 2017, I saw a huge rush of people coming in the next bull run, right? Then I started seeing people on the road talk about it. That was quite making me happy in so many ways. Uh, 2018, I moved on to CoinSwitch. Back then, CoinSwitch was a global company. It basically ran a crypto to crypto exchange aggregator platform. After the banking ban was called unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, we took the first chance to jump into the Indian market and launched a product called CoinSwitch Kuber. 10 months from now, or close to 6 million users, raised over $40+ million in funding. And I think has been quite successful in taking cryptocurrency to places. So I generally associate my journey with the companies that I work for because that truly represents my journey, right? It's not separate from what it is for the brands that I've worked for.
Absolutely. So you've got, I mean, around the box from the technology explanation to the core value. मतलब अगर कोई भी क्रिप्टो स्पेस में है तो उन्हें सेंसरशिप से नफरत है, उन्हें डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन से प्यार है, और प्रिवेसी तो ऐसे है जैसे उनकी अपना ही मतलब कोई डेटा मतलब देख भी नहीं सकता. आप
Right.
परमिशन आपको मिलेगी तो आप देख सकते हो,
हाँ.
बट ये नहीं है कि यार सारा डेटा एक सेंट्रलाइज डेटाबेस में स्टोर्ड है और आप उसको जो भी कहीं पे भी अब्यूज करो करना है तो, और उसको यूज करके मेलर्स भेजते रहो, ये करते रहो, वो करते रहो. सो आई मीन आई थिंक ब्रॉडली अगर आप देखो एक नॉर्मल क्रिप्टो पर्सन को तो ये सारी चीजें उनके खून में होती है ना.
Right. Right.
बट वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. बट अब ये बताओ कि क्या चल रहा है यार, कुछ आरबीआई के साथ कुछ चल रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, ये थोड़ा सा वहां पे पिक्चर
Right.
शेयर
Right.
करो.
Sure. So I think the problem right now is with the lack of clarity and communication between banks,
हाँ.
right? we have seen some banking challenges that काफी लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा, right, the newspapers and things like that, with exchanges going down sometimes because उन पे deposit issues चलते रहते हैं, या फिर INR deposit नहीं हो रहा है, and then sometimes people genuinely, and we understand genuinely, आके हम पे गुस्साते हैं कि यार क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग, right? But I think those challenges are natural. I think this is a very small hiccup in the journey of a regulated industry coming through, right? So I think that's what's happening today. I cannot really go into the details of exactly how it operates at this point for larger understanding of the audience right now, right? But I think it's just a minor hiccup. We are in conversation with all relevant stakeholders to come to some sort of crypto mein to, let's use the word consensus, right? And figure this out, how to take this forward.
Absolutely. So also, how do you see regulations panning out? If I would say, शरण यार भाई मुझे बता कि मैं और वेस्ट करूं कुछ मनी या कुछ टाइम या कुछ रिसोर्सेज, तो would you say go ahead looking at the next 3 months?
So just adding a disclaimer here. None of the conversation here is a financial advice. I am
Absolutely.
not. Yes, right. I think regulations in India, to me personally, seems very positive. At least uh, the kind of interest that the regulators are taking up in trying to understand the kind of questions that we're getting today, at least tells us that they have gone way beyond the basic understanding of what cryptocurrencies are. They're now asking tough questions, which are and which are very genuine questions, to be honest, right? Those questions being asked today tells us that okay, they are thinking of this in the right direction, and they've been pretty open about having conversations and setting up committees and trying to see through this, and have not been shy about telling how optimistic they are about the technology. If you would have seen both the finance minister and the finance minister for state,
Yeah,
right, being very vocal
Anurag
about,
Thakur.
yeah, being very vocal about their support and their belief in the technology of cryptocurrencies. So I think personally, I think it's just a matter of time before we start seeing something very concrete come out in terms of regulation.
Absolutely. I think बहुत चीजें change हुई हैं because I remember from the earlier team that was on the side of finance ministry that was sort of formed. I think in my early discussions we presented a policy paper as a community, had about 10,000 people contribute to it. There were like about 7 open town hall sessions in 7 different cities, kind of a full blown roadshow if you look at it. So legal legal folks getting involved, to draft it right, to ensure that it's right to the T of it, right? And then, getting the technologies, the exchanges, everyone involved. What I realized was, they were interested. And, it came as a shocker back in, I think, a couple of years back, more than a couple of years back, when the first ban was levied. Right. Luckily, Supreme Court sort of changed the whole context, and this is what it was. Why does somebody choose for me what I have to do? Right. Again, no financial advice, but I definitely see that things are getting better. Might not be from an investing per se. I won't speak to that, but I can definitely say there is an abundance of opportunity in the crypto industry, so to say, or the blockchain industry, so to say, right? And Sharan, because you've been here, why don't you shed some light on probably which could be the small or the low hanging fruits if you look at opportunities available right now?
Uh, first addressing the part of where things are standing right now, right? I think Akshay, it's mostly Janta ka pyar, people like you, people like you represent blockchain India, the kind of work that you guys have done, like really thankful. I think people wanting and putting on hashtags saying India wants Bitcoin, India wants crypto, right? Tagging the ministry saying that no, you cannot kill innovation. And even when we did this recently, we did this campaign of sending out emails to the MPs. The number
Yeah.
who came out and supported it, projects like, for example, Polygon, right? Previously Matic, the kind of possibility that they have shown कि यार potential है हमारे बंदों में, right? Like this is the country that could shine, and this is the minute, this is the moment for us, right? We've been a slightly behind in a lot of other places in other industry, but crypto mein we were not behind. Like let's raise this, let's this become the biggest market, right? So I think I'm pretty thankful to you, your team, and everyone out there who have done anything in that space, right? When it comes to low hanging fruit. I kind of don't like to call something low hanging because it's such evolving technology, and what gets obsolete and what kind of picks up is so dramatically different, right? Like I go to Clubhouse and talk to people sometimes, and I feel that कि मैं बताने गया था मैं सीख के आया हूँ. Like other things that I need to do a research on before I jump in on calls with people these days, right? But there are some certain like for me personally, my interest more lies on scaling solutions right now, because I think the whole area around how, because like what Vitalik said in 2014, right? We'll either scale and fix the consensus or die trying, right? So that whole because for this to take off in ways, and I primarily believe, for example, things like blockchain will be more used on the back end, where the user will not even know that they're interacting with the blockchain.
Absolutely.
Right? And for these things to actually happen in reality, scaling solutions have to kind of like really solve a lot of problems that currently exist, right, with congestion, fees, and all of that stuff. So I think Polygon definitely is something that I keep a close eye on. I think Sandeep has done brilliant work in terms of like just not putting India out there, but also building solid tech, right, for the entire crypto community to kind of look at. The kind of work they have done with the COVID relief kind of really puts one use case straight out there, telling people that, yeah, देखो ये हो रहा है. मतलब we are not no longer talking about white papers. We're not longer talking about a distant future. ये हो रहा है, like it's happening now, right? And this is the power of it. And now I'm kind of a little excited about a project called Solana.
Mhm.
I've been kind of reading into it. I wouldn't really say I'm deep into it at this point in time, but pretty interesting into how they are structuring it, like and pretty interesting stuff happening there.
So yeah, so just to set context for everyone, there is a scaling problem that everybody talks about outside of CoinSwitch Kuber, and there is a scaling and congestion, that CoinSwitch Kuber folks are looking at. They just do not know how to. There's so much of demand for their exchange. They are sort of fighting it tooth to the tooth and nails with everything. Sort of solving these issues with RBI, regulations and all of that. At the same time, making the tech future ready, because we've seen a lot of maturity in tech products come in India, and I think CoinSwitch Kuber is sort of taking it to the next level with sort of that maturity, right? So when Sharan talks about scaling, he talks about बहुत दिल के पास की बात करते हैं. But yeah, on the broader side, I think everybody in the crypto space knows, but to the layman, we have a decentralized database that powers cryptocurrencies, right? So हर चीज डिसेंट्रलाइज होने की वजह से, सबके वोट इकट्ठे करने की वजह से, the process becomes a little chaotic. Think of the fact that if the government was to decide on any decision and involve the public every time something related to that decision was made, just the election process, it's so chaotic around. It's just so difficult to do that, and in the world of cryptocurrencies, that happens every 10 seconds, right? So that is what the technology is enabling. And जब आप उस स्केल की बात करते हो इतने छोटे से टाइम में, तो स्केलिंग इश्यूज आते हैं, right? And then Polygon, India's star, sort of has come to the rescue for the whole crypto industry with their scaling solution. So अब तो 1 लाख करोड़ की उनकी वैल्यू हो गई है, एक अलग ही लेवल पे लेके जा चुके हैं. They're pretty much in the top league around the globe. Solana, as Sharan mentioned, champions this proof of history. जैसे consensus mechanism की मैं बात कर रहा था, so they have this unique model wherein they timestamp it. Every block does not have to be in a sequence in such a way that every transaction is one after the other, but they compare it across timestamps. So there's a bunch of interesting technology stuff that's happening, and as Sharan, I'm sort of mind boggled every day with the kind of innovation or the invention that happens in the space. Right. So again, your favorite projects, Sharan, you mentioned Polygon, you mentioned Solana. Anything else or that people should look out for in the coming sort of years?
I think people should also look out at decentralized exchanges. Most people would tell me like, why would you say that? Because you run a centralized exchange. But I think centralized exchanges play a very different role, right? Most people don't understand कि भाई आप Indian rupees लेके नहीं जा सकते हो decentralized. So because we get this a lot, people asking कि crypto तो decentralized है, but exchanges क्यों centralized है? But I think the future lies there, and when we're future ready, I think a lot of companies, even the ones that are running centralized exchanges, right, like Binance have already started doing that, right, moving into uh, uh, DEX extensions of their projects. You would start seeing a lot of exchanges do that, and I think that's the crazy part about crypto, right? Nobody decides; people get pushed to do things, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So yeah, so I mean that is quite straightforward. You cannot know the complexities on day one, and centralized exchanges bring the power or bring the access of cryptocurrencies to the world that we are used to, right? And then pretty much that's how you've educated everyone about cryptocurrencies. You'll have to educate about the experience, sort of transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3,
Right.
transitioning from traditional finance to decentralized finance, right? I mean, neo banking is making it a little better for the traditional finance, but decentralized finance is smoothless. I mean, it's so seamless that you won't even understand. It takes seconds to transfer money from let's say Canada to India, right?
Right.
It's just so quick and it's just so seamless, right? So I totally get that. Dex is definitely the space. So then look out for Uniswap, Pancake Swap, Sushi Swap. I think some really wonderful dexes that are happening, and I think CoinSwitch probably would also come up with something in the near time. So we're tuned to that, Sharan. Yeah. So okay. So tell me a bit about as if you look at community's role, how can we sort of solve the complexities that you're facing with, definitely the banking situation? Because I think something that's the most serious at the moment is how banks, there seems to be this lack of coordination that you mentioned. But the impression or the perception to the outside world is more that of that banks see this as a space that's competing to their original interests, right? How do you see we as a community can help you? How can we add some value there for you?
I think crypto में ना अक्षय community is everything.
Hmm.
It's one place where community is everything, right? Even if you look at the basics of, for example, आज कोई बंदा, if they're able to launch a token, right, and they don't have to go to a VC is not going to decide the future of whether a project will take off or not. It's the normal janta, right, sitting in different parts of the world and different corners of the world, eyeing for the same project, eyeing to solve the same problem. Right, it's a very powerful concept that I don't think I've ever seen this before. Right, the last use case or last place where I've seen community play a huge role is democracy itself, right? And this is tech democracy, I like to
Exactly.
call it, right? Um, I think with this very specific use of context of what exchanges are currently going through, I think the first thing that a community can actually do is to raise their voice and, in a very polite fashion, put it out there that why is cryptocurrency important to them, right? I think we have a government that listens to the people, and if the more people go out and tell people as to why they believe in cryptocurrencies and why they want to be a part of this future technology, I think uh, the more value that gets in the eye of the regulators, right? I also think the job of a community, very importantly, is that to understand that each one of them, and I'm not trying to make a very emotional plea here, but because I've seen this firsthand, is to educate other people. It's not just the
Exactly.
job of an exchange or blockchain
Exactly.
to just keep doing that, right? Because hum pe we have a limit. But if one
Exactly.
educates the other to not get into scams, to not put money into things that they don't understand, to not put their school fees or बहन की शादी का पैसा into crypto, you make everyone's life really easy, right? Uh, so I think that's the most important thing. Like, just if you have learned something, educate the next one, and that's the way the crypto community is gonna grow, right? And the lastly, कि हमें गाली देने के पहले just understand our situation as an exchange. A lot of things we really can't put out there, but there are mistakes on our part as well, and we try our best to fix it. But there are certain things that are not in our control, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah,
I think just on that, I would like to add this as a general, so we at Blockchain India, we're trying to foster a culture for helping out founders, right? So you would see me a lot of times, when there is, I hear the slightest of a problem, I am directly pinging you saying that,
Yeah,
I heard something, see if, this is happening, just test it on the back end,
yeah,
right? So I think that culture of supporting innovators is very important. We have to realize that we have 20 times the amount of billionaires or unicorns as in startups coming from the west or China. And why are we so behind? It's because we don't have that supportive culture for innovators. I mean, we should be laying red carpet for innovators like Sharan, people at CoinSwitch, other every innovator out there that's working in the industry, because you have to realize we are slowly moving away from traditional jobs. Those industries are contracting in size, and here is an industry that's growing on at an unprecedented scale. We have not seen that even in tech before, right? So we have to recognize for the value it can potentially bring in the future, and we have to enable that process of value creation to happen, right? We have to support, the Sharans of the ecosystem. We have to support the Satoshis of the ecosystem to make big on this dream, right? To make big on this value creation opportunity. So we have to be very careful. These are our friends. These are our, family members. This is our house, and if we help each of them grow, these houses are going to turn into mansions, and all of us are going to be living in a healthier environment. We're going to have better economy, right? So it is all going to come back as karma. So let's ensure that the founders are getting what they deserve. They have, it's like, you're walking barefoot on, a path full of glasses, glass pieces, right? So it's very important that you sort of help them in whichever way. Understand that there's so much that's happening. They're dealing with the, with the change. There's so much of change between what we're used to and what cryptocurrencies present, as a industry or as a experience. On top of it, they're day in day out talking to bankers, regulators, trying to educate on another side as to how this whole thing works, right? So there's just a lot happening. And then at CoinSwitch Kuber you see a lot of scale, right? So okay, so you mentioned about giving the context a bit. How many users does CoinSwitch Kuber have now?
we've crossed 6 million users
Wow,
in
wow.
10 months. I think was told by someone in the VC that it was the fastest growth they have seen. Uh, right. I think a lot of credit also goes to the whole industry, right? Because I keep telling people that cryptocurrency ka PR crypto hi hai. Need a external PR, right? That's its
Exactly.
own PR, right? So I think, and that has been also the problem that we faced, right? And sometimes when we offer subpar experience, and multiple times we have, and I would openly admit it, that happens because yeah, it's just been 10 months for us, right? And we just entered and we saw a wave of scaling problems that well-established players also couldn't handle, right? So we when before we could we would just build the wholesome product. It was just users coming in and like to then figure out scaling, figure out security on one end, then figure out features to be put in. फिर आपका banking wala issue and all of that started going in. But in spite of all that, really proud of the team at CoinSwitch. Really proud of the kind of users that we have had. Right. Every now and then I see someone tweeting out saying that sir ji aap mast raho hum dekh lenge aap we are those are very motivating things to wake up in the morning and to build for India, right? I think the success that we have got so far comes from one thing that generally a lot of crypto companies focus on traders,
Mhm.
right? We were kind of one of the when we entered India, we realized that there's a huge gap for retail users, people like my dad and people's like dads, right, who want to get a piece of this technology and enter this, and yet finding it challenging because again, India is not an investing nation, right? It's not a trading nation, so most people have no clue of what that is. So we wanted to build an experience that is so simple that anybody could just put two click of two buttons and they are now holding their favorite crypto asset with them, right? And I think that's where we saw a lot of success. I think the other part that really helped us a lot is the educational initiatives that we have taken. We do a lot of workshops in colleges, right? We sponsor a lot of events and stuff where cryptocurrencies get discussed, right? Uh, we have worked with mainstream brands like Oyo, for example, right? Ghana.com, to
Wow.
kind of give out crypto as freebies to users, because the whole idea is not acquire a user, but also just that when you have a piece of it and you start seeing the way it moves, like you need to have skin in the game, right? So our basic idea was to
Exactly.
get people to have skin in the game, right? And I think those were the reasons why we were able to kind of do well.
That's amazing. And also because Sharan was there. Okay, just a bit of a background. Sharan goes to a crypto exchange and it just, skyrockets in terms of user base. He went to first Unocoin and that's what happened at Unocoin. And now with CoinSwitch Kuber, that's the exact same thing I'm seeing.
I think that's not a right thing to say in so many ways
I'm just
because
kidding. I'm just kidding. But you do have a track record of successes, and I hope the best for you moving forward. So अब यहाँ पे 60 लाख से 60 करोड़ तक की journey, probably what's the timeline for that? अगले 5 साल?
I think it's completely. I think if regulations kick in, it's like no brainer, right? You're just there,
Uh-huh.
right? Uh,
Okay, so he has very, very diplomatically said that our success relies on the regulators. If they give us the room to grow, there's no stopping us, right? So there's no ceiling in the crypto space. And I love that thought, Sharan. I think responsibly, let's also share with people that, you brought in a very right point. Do not invest the money that you cannot afford to lose. Do not put in critical life save, money that your everyday functions rely on. Be super careful with and I did not know people are putting their sort of house loan money or wedding sort of funds to cryptocurrencies. Do not do that. I mean, be responsible with your money. Invest in projects that at least understand the space they're in, understand the market or the business, the larger business model behind it, understand what's the upper ceiling, right? So, for example, if you look at currencies, and I'm not saying currencies is the market for all of the crypto assets, but you have to look at the larger currency, the primary, secondary, and tertiary market together comes out to be $110 trillion market. Just that one use case, right? So if you look at Bitcoin, even if it goes down to about 10% of that market, you're looking at $11 trillion, right? The same map that VCs use, right? It's a no-brainer. If you're looking at if you are looking at a car market in sort of car industry regularly, if you invest in stocks, let's say investing in Maruti stocks, you would realize you'd first see how big is the travel industry when it comes to day-to-day routine travel, right? And then you're going to invest. If it's a luxury car company, you're going to look at that market. So understand all these parameters and then invest. बहुत छोटी चीजें हैं यार, बहुत बेसिक है. इन सब चीजों को समझ के रिस्पॉन्सिबली इन्वेस्ट करो. वो पैसे इन्वेस्ट करो जिसको आप साइड में धीरे धीरे ग्रो कर सकते हो. डोंट इन्वेस्ट द क्रिटिकल लाइफ डिपेंड द मनी दैट your life depends upon, right? And we are there as a network to support you. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, happy to welcome you into the Blockchain India network. It's a small family wherein we love to share knowledge, we love to answer some doubts. All right. And if you're looking at an exchange, CoinSwitch Kuber it is, right? And appreciate if you liked what Sharan shared, if you liked what I shared, you know share this video, subscribe to the Next Big Brands channel. They're doing some phenomenal stuff. Make sure that you're tuned in to the various channels Next Big Brand has brought in. Again, thanks to Sharan. Keep up the great journey that you have. Thanks to the Next Big Brand team for putting this together.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Akshay. Sorry, and Abhishek from Next Big Brand. Pretty awesome. I think the most candid conversation I've had in a very long time. So yeah,
Absolutely. Actually, absolutely. And as Abhishek says, rukna to hai hi nahi. I mean, there is no stopping. So keep rising, keep shining. That's it from our side. Thank you, everyone.